when a trio of hooded men struck at some of our most cherished democratic principles, freedom of expression, freedom of the press, they assaulted democracy everywhere. Yesterday, hundreds of thousands of people around the world, in cities across this country, openly demonstrated that we will not be intimidated by jihadist terrorists. Today, I know all Canadians, during this time of national mourning, we all stand together with the people of France, our great friends and allies.
Prime Minister Stephen Harper speaking this afternoon in British Columbia about the terrorist attacks in Paris. 12 people killed during the attack on the offices of the satirical French magazine Charlie Hebdo. Brooke Goldstein is a human rights attorney, director at the Lawfare Project. She joins us from New York. Brooke, I know that one of your specialties is talking about the attempt to shut us down. That's what the Lawfare Project is about, is people using the courts. This is a different way of trying to shut us down, and whether Western countries, Western media, Western individuals are shut up, are shut down in speaking freely, I guess is up to us, isn't it?
Absolutely. And the best way to protect our free speech right is to continue to exercise it. And it's ironic, but we just released a short film about 3 weeks ago exactly on this topic, on the Islamist attempt to chill free speech about militant Islam. And then we have these violent attacks on the offices, and it's really indicative of our time, what happened to the offices of Charlie Hebdo, which is anyone who was brave enough to speak publicly, to write critically, to satirize Islamism or militant Islam, is finding themselves on the receiving end, not just of a frivolous defamation lawsuit or threats of violence, but horrific violence like we saw yesterday in Paris.
Now, Charlie Hebdo, as we've talked about for the past 2 days, I mean, there's the cover of Pope Benedict with his supposed gay lover in a drawing. They took aim at everybody, but it was only militant Islam that turned around. And it was only when they took aim at Muslims and at Islam that leaders would speak out. I want to play a clip of Jay Carney, President Obama's spokesman back in 2012, his former spokesman now, but in 2012, he was still spokesman, going out and saying they shouldn't be doing this. Roll tape.
We don't question the right of something like this to be published. We just question the judgment behind the decision to publish it.
When someone like Jay Carney, who speaks for the president, goes out and says that, isn't that encouraging self-censorship?
Exactly. No American should have to face the possibility when they exercise their constitutionally guaranteed First Amendment free speech that they're going to find themselves being condemned by the most powerful office in the world. And that's exactly what's been happening in the United States. Even though the Obama administration has taken the opportunity to make these grand statements about freedom of speech in light of a terror attack on Charlie Hebdo, the Obama administration has really been on the forefront of silencing free speech only when it's critical of Islam. You're free to criticize Christianity in this country. You're free to criticize Mormonism. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton gave a standing ovation to the Book of Mormon, which is a satirical play that's very offensive to the followers of Mormonism. But when it comes to a YouTube film that's critical of Islam or makes fun of Islam, all of a sudden you have the Secretary of State, the President of the United States, falsely blaming you for murder happening 3,000 miles away, which is what happened in Benghazi in Libya.
I know that this is a quote you're a fan of. I want to read it off and then have you expand on it a little bit. Benjamin Franklin said, and this is in the 1780s, people, he said, "This sacred privilege is so essential to free government that the security of property and the freedom of speech always go together. In those wretched countries where a man cannot call his son his own, he can scarce call anything else his own. Whoever would overthrow the liberty of a nation must begin by subduing the freeness of speech."
Right, and if you're to measure the liberty of the nations, all you have to do is look at how free their press is. The reason why Islamist terrorists attacked the offices of Charlie Hebdo is because they understand that a free press is the greatest defense against tyranny. And if we can't openly discuss these issues, and if we can't challenge the root causes of Islamist terrorism and the tyranny and the fascism in Islamist dictatorship countries, if we can't talk about these issues, then we won't be able to understand them and we won't be able to defeat them. And that's exactly why the terrorists attack the offices.
If we give into it, if we give into the self-censorship, are we essentially imposing at least one part of Sharia law upon ourselves that we cannot question or criticize Islam?
Exactly. That's exactly what's happening. Is we're seeing a detrimental, chilling effect in the West. People are refusing to write and to publish and to speak out against a very real and imminent national security threat, which is militant Islam. I mean, if you just look what happened following the Kenyan massacre in a shopping mall by Al-Shabaab, 90% of the Western media refused to use the words Islam or Muslim or jihad in headlines reporting on the attack. Look at Yale University Press. When they were publishing a book called Cartoons That Shook the World about the Danish cartoons of Muhammad that Charlie Hebdo republished, Yale University Press refused to publish the actual cartoons out of fear of reprisal. So we need, at this very moment, it is the most important thing that we can do is to continue to express our free speech, not cower to Islamist terrorism, not buy into the whole Islamophobia narrative. There is nothing Islamophobic about speaking publicly about real and imminent threats to our national security.
All right, Brooke, thanks so much for joining us today, and we'll hopefully chat again soon. Brooke Goldstein with the Lawfare Project. Share your thoughts. Facebook.com/Brian Lilley. Stick around. More to come.